Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today in the north corner of the map, we have got Beastyqt, the Lalu King himself, playing as the English though. And he's going to be going up against loueMT, today playing as the Malians in blue in the south. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to loueMT. Bit of a role reversal. We've seen Beastyqt playing a lot of Malians recently, and boy oh boy is he good at it. But today the tables have turned. loueMT going to be perhaps maybe giving Beasty a bit of a taste of his own medicine, because the Malians at the moment are in a really strong position, a really nice spot with their warrior scouts. They're incredibly tanky and they can regenerate their health very, very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they got a bit nerfed a little bit, because they're a little bit crazy. And the thing I like about the Malians at the moment is the tempo aggression, the early aggression that's there, didn't used to always be there. They used to have a fast castle build into Firim Garrison. You're kind of a bit defensive early on. You place the trade network landmark, which would kind of acting as a bit of a defensive outpost to try and get you to that fast castle. But things have changed. Things have adapted. Have gone to more of a warrior scout, pro scout build. And the reason why I like that kind of approach to the Malians is because it gives them the tempo aggression to get onto the map, to get that map control, push enemies behind. And there's lots of opportunities that gives. It gives you that fast castle approach after the warrior scouts have appeared. So you can still go into that Firim Garrison, the cheaper units, 10% discount, and the units converted to gold cost in entirely. And that can be incredibly strong. But also the map control gives you the ability to trade. And speaking of trade, the landmarks are incredibly nicely positioned for that, right in the corner of the map. And I'd be surprised to see if neither player goes for trade. It's traditionally the Malians that do it with the toll outposts. Beastyqt, on the other hand, playing the English, a very strong civilization in Season 4. But the Malians, in many ways, it does feel like they're a counterpick, because the Malians have access to the javelin throwers, which can do really well against the longbows. So English might be struggling here. Having said that, I have seen a game maybe a couple of months ago when the civilizations came out, the Malians and the Ottomans. It was between loueNOK and demuslim playing as the Malians and loueNOK playing as the English. And loueNOK actually won that game with a combination of horsemen and longbowmen, and using the range that the longbowmen added and using the horsemen to snipe out the javelin throwers. But this is a different map. That was on the pit. This is of course loueMT, and well, trade could be done on the pit and loueMT, but we shall see. Lots of things that could potentially happen. We do see the Mansa Quarry, the landmark, being chosen here by loueMT. We talked earlier about how it's often the defensive kind of trade boosting landmark that we saw for the Malians, but things are being changed, and Mansa Quarry will add in that 75 gold per minute extra income passively, which is really nice to be able to fund to get to that castle age, and also perhaps fund the Firim Garrison if we get that far, which we probably will, because Age of Empires 4 tends to last a bit longer than the castle age. Beastyqt going up with the council hall. No real surprises there, to be fair. Kind of traditional opening here for him so far, and nothing untoward. And it's quite a fast uptime actually for him, so I suspect maybe he's going to be dishing out some longbows out there nice and early. The trouble with that is that you're not going to get huge amounts of value, and again, the warrior scouts are so adept at even dealing with longbows now. All he needs to do is get the warrior scout upgrade there for Louis, and he'll be rocking and rolling, pushing those longbowmen back, and that will force Beastyqt into spearmen if he wishes to have a feudal age aggression. We shall see. He does have that first pit mine there, Louis, obviously unscathed, unpressurized. It was often the case that this had to be pressurized by the opponents to the Malians. As we said, things have changed. As we do see the first longbowman coming out for Beastyqt, it is indeed going to be a longbowman rush nice and early. Very, very fast uptime, has to be said. And it's going to go for stone, so it's going to be a second town centre play by Beasty. Going to just maybe get a couple of longbowmen. He's only got one so far, maybe just teasing his opponent. I like what Beastyqt is doing here, because he went for a very fast uptime, which is not necessarily optimal for getting a two-town centre play. You want to kind of... It looks as though Beastyqt has got his build order optimal for a longbowman rush, and that might bait loueMT into an extended feudal age, which, Beastyqt wouldn't mind too much. Just dishing out just the one longbowman, maybe baiting loueMT into an overreaction. Having said that though, loueMT is unlikely to do that, because of course it's the warrior scouts he's going to need, and he's probably going to do that anyway. So I'm not sure how I feel about this opening for Beasty actually. I'm not sure it gave him a lot. If he was opting for a second town centre build, it might have been better just to have an optimal build for that. And, so the second town centre is going to be relatively delayed if he went, comparatively, if he went just for a straight up two town centre build. In any case, he's trying something here with the longbowman coming out. loueMT going to be taking care of this with the Warrior Scout. Does have the Warrior Scout upgrade now, and yeah, it's going to be looking good. Should be able to take out that the longbowman pretty easily. Yeah, we got Yuko in the chat saying that the Ilalu soundtrack is actually awesome. I have to admit, it's really good. It's a pleasure to cast these games with the music on, that's for sure. Second pit mine is up and running for loueMT. That gold income could be looking very nice. And the nice thing about the Warrior Scouts is the Pro Scouts play. It really does extend the amount of food that can be brought underneath the TC, and it does deny the food for the opponent as well. I mean, there is even a question whether this town center going on Deer right here. This is a potential opportunity for loueMT to deny. If he does go for the Warrior Scouts and the Pro Scouts play, he could literally just snatch and grab and go for a Grand Theft Venison. We've seen it recently. In fact, we've seen Beastyqt do it to loueMT. I casted that game offline and it's on the YouTube channel. So I wouldn't be surprised to see loueMT to do the exact same thing. And the town center is being denied now for a little bit of time. It won't be too bad. But again, the eco advantage that Beastyqt could have had by going straight to town centers is kind of negated now. 6 minutes on that, 6.5 minutes. It's pretty delayed actually, as all things considered. He is getting some eco upgrades. He's got double broadaxe and wheelbarrow though. So that'll certainly help his economy. And we can see the Warrior Scouts now, loueMT just diving in a little bit. Being a bit of a pest. And we talked about the regeneration of the health. Look at that health being regenerated by that Warrior Scout. It's a little bit crazy actually when you think about it. He just needs to keep the units alive, and really for players that are good at micro, this is not a problem. It's certainly not a problem with players at this level of Age of Empires 4. And there will be the Warrior Scouts coming out here in large numbers. loueMT, I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive this and try and... The only one thing to consider with trying to dive this and try and steal the deer is that it's a little bit difficult against the English. Of course, the town centers are a lot better at dealing with, scouts, and the fact that they do a lot more damage. It does actually pose a problem. It's probably something that loueMT won't be able to achieve unless he rushes in with like 10, 12 scouts, and of course he'll take casualties. But certainly against other civilizations, it's much more of a viable strategy to steal that venison. That's one thing to bear in mind, that two-town center play is actually pretty viable against the Malians in many ways, as long as you can defend and put it on the deer. It has to be said though, other civilizations might struggle. There's always that threat of the venison being stolen away. There's a second stable coming up for loueMT. Which is an interesting approach. I wasn't expecting to see a double stable, maybe extending that feudal age a little bit, as I say that he's actually placed down the foundations, of course, with the castle age. It's going to be adapting for Sofa, I suspect, getting the cavalry on the field. Wants the mobility, triple stable. That's surprising, but he's certainly going to add in a lot of cavalry. Of course, the Firimba garrison doesn't allow you to build the cavalry units, so of course he's doing that with the stables. Firimba garrison will be able to produce batches of 5 units at a time with the barracks and archery range. And we could be seeing a lot of units coming out pretty fast. Beastyqt looking to wall out and bide his time, protect his economy on this east side. Certainly Lipany's not the worst map to be doing that. The concern that we have, though, with the map control that's gained for the Malians is, whilst Beastyqt is sitting at home nicely on 2 town centres, because it was so delayed, he's only 3 villages ahead. That is not a lot. Especially if you start to think about the passive gold generation that's coming in for loueMT from not only the Mansa Quarry, but the 2 pit mines there already. That's something to consider, that the second town centre here not adding... It's just about kind of keeping up now, almost, for the English against the Malians. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, with the amount of map control that loueMT has gotten and is established, I wouldn't be surprised to see a villager coming out to start trading. Because it does look like Beastyqt is diving in and looking to play this out to the long game. And if he does that, that does leave him a little bit prone to missing out on scouting the trade, as he needs to scout the trade if it happens. We shall see how it plays out, because it's going to be moss coming up for the Malians, and this is again one of the things you get as a benefit of having that map control, the ability to get those imams out on the field, grab those relics. Veterancy comes in for loueMT, and there's an upgrade that I want to talk about, and it's imported armor. This is an incredibly strong technology. Only costs 250 resources, and it increases the armor by +2. That is an absolute huge amount when you consider that those Sofa can now look to just dive the economy, even against the English town centres. And they can dive the economy pretty nicely, deny wood, and just harass the eco that Beastie has. Yeah, he's going to do just that. He's going to ride in with the 2 Sofa. Just going to harass him. Might not get a villager kill, but He just idled a good few villages there. And now he's going to head away. He needs to be careful not to take a fight against the spears. He does, and gets snared in there. It's a bit of a mismarker there for loueMT. I'm not sure if he wanted to actually take that fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see Louis actually start to get some more pit mines on the map. That's exactly what he's doing. He's got full map control with the cavalry that's on the field. Surprisingly enough, Beasty doesn't have that much military. He's going to go for the White Tower Castle Age landmark himself. Of course, not looking to be too greedy with the King's Palace. And this is certainly a nice landmark for the English. It does now enable him to produce siege engines at 100% speed. So it's good to pump out the units. Plus, obviously, mitigate some attacks as well. Good defensive landmark on the gold vein. We talked about this earlier, how the Suffolk can just dive in. He's quite happy, even with 2 spearmen and the TC fire. That's the power of the imported army. It's going to lose a lot of units, though. Again, the army does go down. He's going to head out there. I mean, that's a almost fully garrisoned town centre. You can see it's barely taking any damage at all. That's a little bit disgusting. Got 5 armour versus ranged units. He's even going to take fights against the spearmen. You can see just 4 Suffolk doing so much damage. And that's 12 villages that have been idle for quite some time. Up in the north, extending the economy to berries. The White Tower position does mean that it's got a lot of protection on that gold vein that he's been relying on. Only half the amount of gold in there. And a good nice back gold there, 4,000 in total in that gold vein to be taken by Beastyqt. We heard the chimings of the relics, and that's got to be only one civilization doing that. And it is the Malians. He already picked up one and he deposited it. He's picked up another. And the gold income is going to be looking to be pretty crazy so far. Already almost 1,000 gold per minute. That's because of the pit mines and also the Mansa Quarry and also the relic. That's just looking to be increased as time goes on, as a couple of archers do head in with the Suffer around the back of the base for Beasty. So despite the walling, the army does go through. It does mean that it's all channeled through this front section of the base, but he's making some good headway here, loueMT, in harassing his opponent. He's not too far behind on economy. And there we are. There's the trade coming up here for loueMT. He's completely free to do so. He's not being pressurized at all. And I do worry for Beasty. He's looking to wall up and extend those walls to protect his economy, but those villagers are being harassed. The Suffer there on the other side of the wall. The archers firing above and over the wood palisades. And look at that. Trade is already queued up for loueMT. This could spiral out of control for the Malians. Gold income already 1,000 per minute. And you might be wondering, why is loueMT just diving with his units? Well, not only is he getting value, he's idling his opponent's economy, but he's making sure that the English army is not heading out of the base. This gives him so much map control. That map control is kind of now obviously establishing itself into trading. 156 gold per minute. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some toll outposts being put down there for loueMT. Doesn't quite have the wood to do so. He's going to be focusing on units for now. When you think about the second town centre play here by Beasty, it hasn't really given him much of an eco advantage. Only 2 villages, 3 eco lead. That's going to be slowing down a lot. In fact, loueMT might pull ahead considering the number of traders he's got queued up. Got 3 relics in the bag already, getting the 4th one in. And this is just an absolute masterclass on how to develop map control with the Malians. We often see Beasty doing this, but today it's loueMT. Longbowmen are going to pick up a couple of kills there with the archers. And look at this, Sacred Site's also being capped by loueMT. That gold income is steadily going to get out of control, and wouldn't be surprised to see loueMT look to spam and use the market to balance his economy, because he's just going to have plenty of gold, probably too much than he knows what to do with. Yeah, toll outpost coming up now as well. loueMT's got 4 relics already. Capturing 2 sacred sites. And he's got trade. Certainly likes his gold, that's for sure. Beastyqt, you can see, just being forced to stay at home. The trouble is, whilst English are incredibly strong late game, you have to wonder, can they match the Malian trade? Not sure any civilization late game can match any civilization's trade. Attacking into the man-at-arms, I think. Yeah, that is indeed the case. Maybe he needs to push in a little bit here, Beasty. Or at least scout and find out what's going on. And that's a concern for the English when you play heavy infantry civilizations like the English. That lack of mobility, lack of scouting information, can really get caught out, because I'm not entirely sure that Beasty's aware of this trade. The army heads west for loueMT, and look at that, almost 2,000 gold per minute coming in for Louis. Right-sided Sacred Site being activated too, and that's even going to give loueMT a win condition. Sacred Site win is a potential. Beastie making a farming transition now, needs to get that food income up. And the crazy thing for loueMT is that because he's got so much gold coming in from the relics and the sacred sites, he can actually just continuously produce cows pretty freely, and that'll be his food income. Got plenty of abundance of food and gold income right now. There's that sacred site. Timer activated. 10 minutes on the clock, and well, Beastie's up against it. Needs to do something fast. He's playing this pretty passively. Probably trusts in his 2-town centre play, but doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to be enough at this point. There is perhaps a world where if it goes super late game, that enclosures might come in, and the pop efficiency of that might outweigh trade. I don't know, it's just that he's got trade so early. That's the concern. We do see a nice group of Suffer going in, and the longbows are firing at the Suffer, but barely doing any damage. 13 Suffer there, riding in. And again, I think loueMT just needs to keep poking and prodding, pulling in, keep damaging palisade walls, going in sort of the left, the east, the west, keep going through, and harassing his opponent. BC is now looking to neutralise the Sacred Site with 1 Spearman. Wouldn't be surprised to see loueMT just rush over there with a couple of Suffer and take care of that. I would like to see Beastie just check for trade though. He's certainly not aware of it so far, I don't believe. Let's actually confirm that. Let's take a look whether Beastie is aware of the trade. Just doesn't really see very much of the map. He's not aware of it yet. There's the Suffer, looking just to contest that Sacred Site. Should take care of that Spin quite nicely. Group of archers on the front of the base and Suffer on the west gives Beastyqt a real headache, and it really hurts him because he needs to pull half of his army, which is slow to move anyway. Bring half of it on the west, and yeah, he's got longbows on the east. Question is, will the Suffer ride in and do some damage? Probably will. Again, these are just units that necessarily loueMT won't mind losing if he keeps up with the trade. He's got to run away though, doesn't want to throw his army away, understandably so. On the east, the archers did dive in a little bit. They're back off now with the range of the longbow pushing them back. Slowly but surely, I think loueMT might be looking to secure the sacred sites. He's got plenty of stone coming in. Suffer do ride in, a couple of loser lives, but you can see how much they're tanking from the longbows. Not enough there to even one-shot, not even two-shot. Units on the east, Spearman does actually neutralise the sacred site. Bit of an oversight there perhaps there for loueMT not to keep that alive. Walling it in could be an option. Getting some toll outposts now in the centre of the map on the sacred sites. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see loueMT look to think about going to the Imperial Age. Because he's got 3,000 gold coming in per minute. It's absolutely bonkers. I wonder how many traders he's got right now. Must have a lot. Dare I even start counting? Yeah, he's got a lot of traders already. Should take a quick look at how many he's got. $30 so far. You just see the eco lead. 91 economy units versus 78, and that's going to translate into a lot of military. 73 versus 55. And the sacred site timer has been activated again, and it looks like he's getting the spriggan replacements on his toll outposts. The 3 sacred sites now under the control of the Malians. This is going to force Beastyqt to push out. He needs to neutralize them. And look at the number of Suffer there on the west side. He's going to push in and deny that outpost, torch it down. Beastyqt doesn't delete it in time, loses quite a bit of resources. They're quite a bit. They're not the most expensive structures in the world, but there is a mangonel coming on the east. Beastyqt looking to push away the infantry. The trouble is, Beastyqt needs to do more than just push this back. He needs to kill it and then push out himself. It looks like Beastyqt maybe just trying to mass up as much army as he possibly can. Food income looking robust here for the Malians too. Look at the cows coming out. He's got more cows than he knows what to do with. Got plenty in reserve. Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's buying Imperial Age. You see it already, the food influx coming in a little bit unnaturally. And the gold going down a little bit unnaturally. That will be the castle, the Imperial Age rather, coming in for Malians. And, well, Beastyqt is actually nowhere near Imperial Age himself. He's not going to be able to compete, and that's the problem. That's what trade has given the Malians here today. It's given them such a solid economy. An economy that can't be matched at this point. And it's going to give him the tech advantage as well as it goes up. The Toll Outpost is going to end up having cannon emplacements as well. That can be much, much harder for the English to push. Doesn't really have that much siege either, Beastyqt. Has 2 mangonels coming out from the White Tower of Man at Arms. Just feels like the English aren't what they used to be against trade anyway. There we are. There's that Imperial Age, and well, Beastyqt needs to push, and he needs to push now because he cannot wait for loueMT just to get his Imperial Age upgrades, which are coming in thick and fast. As you can see, the elite upgrades to the Musafadi, the elite upgrades to the Sofa. The Sofa will die on that gold vein, but he won't mind it too much. loueMT needs to just bide his time. In fact, he's going to go for a counterattack, and why not? If he can break through, there are a lot of villagers on that wood line to be killed. Beastyqt trying to move out with the massive infantry, but the trouble with the infantry again is just a slow push out, and by the time he does get out onto the map, well, the Imperial Age upgrades are already in now for the Malians. He's got the elite upgrades, and the 6 on the west is probably going to be taken out. Might deny the 6-side victory win condition, but I'm not sure the Malians mind too much because he's going to dive in. There are a couple of mangonels, the Musafadi warriors diving in, and they're going to harass that wood line massively. And it's going to idle the economy. It's a big problem. Villagers might be coming out to re-wall that. It's going to have to. He's going to stem the flow of units coming in. Musafadi warriors can take great engagement against the man-at-arms. There are crossbows behind with some mangonels. Mangonels should do some damage. But look at that. Toll Outpost on the north, on that wood line, denying that wood, and Beastyqt is going to struggle to get hold of wood actually at this point. A couple of infantry do go through the main front passage of that base, and Musafadi warrior is going to dive in. Mangonels though can take care of that, but this is a distraction. This distraction just allows the Sofa to head into that wood line and kill all those villagers. Villagers are absolutely getting massacred on that wood line. There's no way out, and Beastyqt is down to 66 economy. I love the way that loueMT is using his units. He's baiting the army for Beastyqt, and he can't move out quick enough. And the cavalry charge in. They've gone to the back of the base as well. Killed villagers on the back gold vein. Gold vein is absolutely expired. There's almost no gold coming in for Beastyqt now. He is struggling majorly. Had a couple of units there on that gold pit mine, but yeah, it's just not doing enough work there for Beastyqt. Having to head back at home and try and deal with the army that's there. Biology coming in. These elite Sofa are going to be able to tank absolutely everything at this point. It's going to be the Berkshire Palace though for Beastyqt. He's trying to hold on for as long as he can. Building up with a decent number of villagers there, 13 on the front lines. He needs to keep that alive and make sure no further units come in. And he also needs to deal with the army that's actually there. The Sofa are so tanky, fighting underneath the White Tower and the town centre versus crossbows, longbows, mangonels, and these guys are still getting huge amounts of value. They do die eventually. Eventually being the key word. But look at the population for loueMT still ahead, pretty much keeping neck and neck in terms of military count. There's that new age now. The Imperial Age comes in for Beastyqt. It's going to need some time to get those Imperial Age upgrades. Tide barns coming in. That's going to be absolutely huge because he's got 4 relics. That means each relic we're going to give 30 food, 30 wood, and 30 stone as well. So the cannon emplacements coming in the outposts. That's just going to stop the English from pushing out. Musafadi warrior is going to sweep up whatever left of that army was on that pit mine. On that gold vein rather. The pit mine was taken out on the east. One lonely elite Sofa riding into his death. But in the north, another Sofa raiding damage being done. Such a masterclass on map control and getting that map control with the Malians. Look at the range of the Berkshire Palace though. It's going to be difficult for loueMT just to push through this. He is certainly going to need siege, and I wonder what he's going to push in with. Let's take a look at what's happening at home for the Malians. Plenty of cows, holy moly. You can afford cows for days. Wouldn't be surprised to see some siege workshops though, because he's going to need to produce some siege engines. Yeah, he's going to get the siege now. He's getting siege works, increasing the health of siege engines by 20% and their ranged armor by +10. Could go for some bombards, possibly some rams. We have seen a lot of rams being used these days. But it's not as though loueMT is struggling on wood as a group of army does. Head on the west side, look to burn down the palisade again. On the east, he's being pushed back. But he's decent number of Mustafadi warriors. 2 mangonels will take short work on that. Good shots off, but they did do a little bit more. Mustafadi warriors still getting some decent value. Mangonels in the second time of asking do a lot of damage. On the west though, I think we'll suffer in again. Yeah, these guys are in. Mustafadi warriors are rather. And 2 elite suffer. And they're idling up their economy. 68 villages. It's difficult for Beastyqt to reboom, even with 2 town centers behind this. It's Western Sacred Site. Now he's been captured by the Malians again. They're going to reactivate that Sacred Site timer, but I'm not sure he needs it. And the trade really coming in clutch for the Malians. Beastyqt needs a response. I'm not sure how he does it though. He's going to need siege to take care of the Atoll outpost and slowly push forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see... Oh, there we are. There it is. There are the siege workshops coming in. They keep coming in from the front lines as well, acting as a really good stronghold for the Malians to push out from. 2 siege workshops for now. Interested to see what's going to be queuing up and what upgrades too. Okay, he's getting lightweight beams. That's going to increase battering ram attack speed by 40% and reduce their field construction time by 50%. He is going to absolutely spam out these rams. Oh, they're going to come out quick time. He's going to need plenty of wood to do so. He might just buy it, to be fair. He can. Oh, wow. Okay. He just spent a heck of a lot of wood. I wonder what it was on. So the siege workshops there. Looks like it might have been the houses. On the east side, Sofa and Elite Mustafadi warriors coming out. This is the main gold vein that I think Beastyqt has, and it's being pushed off it again. There's a bombard. That was the siege that we talked about that Beastyqt would need, but that's pretty exposed. If loueMT spots that, he could siege that down. I'm not sure he spots it. He's more interested in the eco and why not, but the Mustafadi warriors heading in. Again, the Mustafadi warriors acting as a bit of a distraction, the army focusing on that for Beastyqt. Meanwhile, the elite Sofa heading around the back of the base. He's doing so much damage. Whilst he's attacking there, another battalion of Mustafadi warriors heading to that wood line. Just being attacked from all angles, going to snipe down that bombard, I suspect. A very expensive unit to lose. He will lose it. That was probably the last hope for Beastyqt. He's struggling here. 122 eco to 69. Military levels pretty even. The KDR will be pretty decent for Beastyqt, but that's not what tells the whole picture here. Because units have really bought a lot of time for loueMT, and bombard now looking to take down that Atoll outpost on the west side. Beastyqt has just been pigeonholed at home. He's not been able to break out. It's a large part due to the trade. Here comes the rams. 3 workshops working on that. 4 of them so far. Network of citadels finally coming in for Beastyqt. But he has been struggling. He does have enclosures. That'd be a nice bit of gold income for him. But I mean, if you just compare the gold income right now, 4,200 to 200. This game looks all but over. It just takes one big push now for loueMT and the Malians. And that push might be coming in very, very soon. 6 battering rams. Shouldn't take too long, especially with the upgrade that they've got 40% attack speed. Make short work of palisades and then go through from there. Elite Sofa here with the imported armor, just head straight on through. Past the Berkshire Palace, doesn't mind at all. On the east, again, just constantly harassing. Making Beastyqt overcommit to armor to protect his economy on the east side. On the west side, looks like more Atoll outposts looking to be pushed up there by the villagers. One bombard trying to make his way through those Atoll outposts, but again, the Mustafadi warriors raiding in. And the rams are now on the Berkshire Palace. The army is there for Beastyqt, but it just doesn't seem enough, and these rams are incredibly tanky now. And they're going to batter down that Berkshire Palace. Army's there protecting as well, forcing the fight. And trouble for Beastyqt, he's not able to really replace his army as quick as loueMT. Resources that he's floating right now is absolutely bonkers. 3,000 food, 3,000 gold coming in for loueMT. The rams are going to head in forward, and I'm not sure Beastyqt's going to hold on for too much longer. I suspect he might tap out, because now's the time where he's losing his Berkshire Palace, his main defense, and there's not much that kind of lies in between those rams and the rest of the base. There's quite a little of units, but the army trickling in now for loueMT will take care of that. Elite longbowmen not able to do too much damage against the Sofa. Even in small numbers, the Sofa are going to run in and take a good fight. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Beastyqt taps out. The Lalu King himself has had the civilization turn on him. loueMT showing us how to grab a lot of map control with the Malians.